Hello and thank you for joining us on the news on NTA International, reaching you live from Abuja. I am Nolene Ebel Ame. The news headlines. Kogi governorship election, 17 candidates signed peace accord, agreed to abide with the outcome of the result. National Assembly takes step to end pipelines explosions. Plus, Nigeria signs additional memoranda of understanding to tackle insecurity. We begin the news with the politics. 17 out of the 24 candidates contesting the Kogi governorship election have signed a peace accord and having also agreed to accept the outcome of the election on Saturday, November 16. The candidates and other representatives promised to abide by the agreement during the INEC's stakeholders meeting in Lokoja. Charles Alpha reports.
Incumbent Governor Yahaya Bello of the All Progressives Congress APC, candidate of the People's Democratic Party PDP Musa Wada were the notable candidates among the 17 that signed the peace accord in Lokoja. The candidates and representatives of 7 other political parties were not present.
Do you agree to be bound by any people of Kogi here, you please? Yes or no? Do you agree to be bound by?
The Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, while speaking on level of preparations, disclosed that the Commission is leaving no stone unturned and has since deployed both sensitive and non-sensitive materials to the state and are in good condition going into the election. With the court recently ruling on the lawsuit filed in by the Social Democratic Party governorship candidate Natasha Akpoti and other pending judgment in Kogi, INEC is confident any last-minute judgment by the court will not affect the elections.
The sensitive materials for both the governorship and Kogi West senatorial run elections are ready. As usual, they have been handled by the Central Bank of Nigeria.
On security, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Abubakar Adamu, has assured that the police is equally ready in terms of personnel and logistics, while also providing equal protection for the electorates, polling units, INEX materials, and ad hoc staff. While warning against inducement and illegal possession of firearms, the IG says police officers attached to any dignitary will be withdrawn on election day.
If you intend to come out at the election day with arms, be warned. Before you use the arms, it may be too late for you.
I wish to assure all stakeholders that our core members have been trained and fully sensitized to perform the electoral assignment with honesty of purpose.
The essence of the stakeholders meeting was to build a consensus towards achieving a credible Kogi poll. Stakeholders were
Still on the November 16 election, the All Progressives Congress governorship candidate in Bayelsa State, David Leon, says if he is elected as the next governor, he will reposition the state for better productivity by its citizens. The APC campaign train landed in Yenagua for the grand rally preparatory to Saturday's governorship election in the state. One after the other, different political groups turned out to show their support for David Leon and the APC. For the national chairman of the APC, Adams Oshomole, the party's commendable performance at the national level stands it in good state to lead Bayelsa State. Confident of victory, the APC standard-bearer, David Leon, wants his supporters to conduct themselves peacefully on election day. 8,667 and 88 eligible voters are expected to turn out for the November 16, 2019 election. In other news, the need for leaders to reflect extensively on the Nigerian nation, their economy, politics and all that surround it has been stressed by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at a public presentation of a book titled The Challenges of Good Governance in Nigeria. The book was written in honor of a one-time governor of Osun State and founding chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Chief Bisi Akonde. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports. Details will come later in our subsequent bulletin. Moving on, the Senate has urged the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) to carry out assessment of the contamination caused by the pipeline explosion of July this year in Komkom River State and Ijegun in Lagos State. This is part of recommendations by the Senate Ad Hoc Committee that was set up to investigate the two incidents. It also recommended that Nigerian Pipeline and Storage Company and its contractors should ensure compensation to victims of the July incidents that led to the death of 96 persons. The committee observed that apart from worn-out pipes, negligence and security lapses contributed to the disaster. Senators resolved that NNPC accounts for 382.2 million naira earmarked for pipeline protection and called for sanctions against organizations, agencies or persons found culpable. The Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport now has the Migration Information Data Analysis System, MIDAS, for real-time sharing of air travelers' biodata between security agencies. Victor Azu reports that the Abuja airport is only the first of 5 airports to benefit from the project.
Air travel is common for movement between countries, hence the quest to improve security at Nigeria's airports. The minister's quick steps are an indication of his eagerness to welcome the Migration Information Data Analysis System, MIDAS they call it. It is a system that enables sharing of air travelers' biodata between security agencies. Already deployed to good effect in 14 land borders and 2 seaports in Nigeria, the Danish government seeks to replicate same success at Nigeria's airports.
Systems like MIDAS are essential everywhere in the world in order to be able to control the data of the passengers that you bring on board international flights. So when we realized that this was a need, we stepped in.
The Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport is the first of 5 airports in which the system will be installed, and the Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, understands its implications for internal security.
Just as it is in other advanced nations, it's not possible anymore for a known criminal to get into our country or get out of our country without us identifying such a person and bringing him to share.
This is a revolution, but it's not only for immigration, it is for all law enforcement. And this system will be linked with all the wanted persons globally, with the Interpol and local suspect index.
With MIDAS now at the airports, Nigeria becomes even more unattractive for criminal elements who may want to hide away in the country. In Abuja, Victor Azu, NTA News.
The U.S. government, through the President's Malaria Initiative (PMI), has donated 1.75 million bed nets in Ebonyi State as part of a national campaign to provide enough nets for every Nigerian to be protected from the deadly disease. This activity will benefit all 3.1 million residents of the state, providing a minimum 1 net for every 2 people within each household. USAID Deputy Mission Director Kati Donoho, at a ceremony marking the start of the campaign, encouraged the people of Ebonyi to do their part and set an example for their children by sleeping under a net every night to control malaria for the good health of everyone. The PMI program is jointly implemented by the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. In addition to the nets, valued at $4.9 million, additional $1.1 million was provided for logistics, including transportation and community mobilization. Nigeria is helping South Sudan with $300,000 in an effort to achieve peace and stability in the country, which millions of her citizens suffer from conflict and recently devastating flood disaster. Correspondent Usman Aliu reports that a special envoy from Nigeria is in Juba for the mission.
Hope is what Nigeria is assuring South Sudan, that it can overcome the challenges affecting the country. Nigeria's special envoy in Juba, led by Minister of Foreign Affairs Jeffrey Onyama, held talks with President Salva Kiir, explaining the position of Nigeria, not only in the ad hoc committee on South Sudan, known as C5 countries, but as a leader in Africa, guiding other nations to understand who they are.
I informed him that President Muhammadu Buhari was also giving some financial assistance to help with the process. We spoke about the boundary issues and how Nigeria, as a member of the C5 group of countries, was also helping in the process of finding an agreement and a consensus.
Nigeria has been playing a key role since the liberation struggle up to today.
This is a young country with ambition, but it was divided along ethnic and political interests. But people and leaders of South Sudan have now realized the need to be united. And that's what Nigerian government wanted South Sudan to be, a prosperous and united South Sudan. That is why it is supporting the cause of revitalized peace deal in South Sudan. A transitional unity government is now going to be formed in February 2020 after the second attempt was shifted, just like the first one, which could have been done in May this year. But this time, people of South Sudan and the international community are hoping that it's enough time for all factions to respect the peace deal. In Juba, South Sudan, Usman Aliu, NTA News.
On foreign news, let's join Justin Bemui for more news from other parts of the globe.
Actions to save mothers' lives meet the global demand for contraception and stop violence against women and girls by 2030 are the focus of a 3-day global summit that kicked off in Nairobi. The Nairobi summit is taking place 25 years after the groundbreaking International Conference on Population and Development, where 179 governments called for the empowerment of women and girls in all spheres of their lives, including areas regarding sexual and reproductive health. But the meeting is taking place amid protests by a lobby group, Citizen Go, which has called on President Uhuru Kenyatta to boycott or reject its recommendations on grounds that it advocates non-African values. In other news, an Israeli airstrike has killed a senior commander of the militant group Palestinian Islamic Jihad in Gaza. Reports have it that the group said Baha Abu Alta died along with his wife when a missile hit their home. 4 of their children and a neighbor were reportedly injured. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Abu Alta was a ticking bomb who was planning to carry out attacks on the country. At least 150 rockets have been fired at Israel from Gaza since the killing, which the Palestinian Islamic Jihad group has vowed to avenge. 17 Israelis have been lightly wounded in rocket attacks across the south, according to the Barzilai Medical Center in the city of Ashkelon. Justin Bemuni, NTA News.
Welcome back. Now, the need for countermeasures to prevent avoidable death from road crashes has been stressed following reports that more than 1 million people are killed every year. This is the appeal to government of nations at the National Road Safety Stakeholders Summit, an event to commemorate the 2019 World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims. Austin Aibe reports.
Road crashes are leading causes of death worldwide, with estimated 1.2 million people killed each year. Statistics by the United Nations show that more than 3,400 women and children are killed every day on roads while walking, cycling or driving, with another 20 to 50 million others injured.
The developed countries seem to have been able to contain their own trend, and it came with efforts which sustain efforts and realizing what needs to be done and doing what they need to do over the years.
It is in recognition of the road crash victims and their families that the United Nations set aside each year to remember the millions of people killed or injured. The event in Abuja this year brought together stakeholders to take stock and chart a way forward on how to reduce road crashes in Nigeria and to pay tribute to those who dedicate their lives to emergencies such as the Federal Road Safety Personnel, police and medical professionals.
Enjoin our citizens to be road safety conscious and to remember the objectives of observing this day.
Theme for this year says that the human life is no vehicle part. That is to say, if a leg is broken, it is broken. If an arm is broken, you cannot replace it.
Instead of improving the number of deaths of victims of road crash, statistics have shown that we have actually increased the number of deaths in the last 10 years.
Statistics are really staggering, and except we have scenarios like this, there is just no way we will know the enormity of what is happening on our roads.
The emotional point of the event was when little Nancy Afolabi led some dignitaries to lay wreaths in remembrance of children who died from road crashes. The key message from the day is the need for the prevention of road traffic deaths and providing support and care for injured victims and bereaved families. In Abuja, Austin Anyebe, NT News.
From road safety to security now, Nigeria has crafted additional memoranda of understanding with relevant local and foreign partners to increase intelligence sharing, capacity and visibility on anticipated threats and better understanding of global security landscape. This was announced at the 2019 Defense Attaches Conference organized by the Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports.
These are members of the armed forces serving as the nation's defense attaches in different countries. The annual assembly provides a platform for these military diplomats to share ideas, appraise Nigeria's foreign defense relations, and an opportunity to articulate new strategies in intelligence gathering mechanism.
Therefore brings to fore the need for the agency, in conjunction with its sister security agencies, to explore available options at both domestic and international level in addressing contemporary security challenges, which should be in consonance with the federal government effort at ensuring safety, security, and a conducive atmosphere for our citizens.
Though there are different emerging security threats in different parts of the country, the Defense Intelligence Agency knows that it has acquired advanced platforms and upscaled its operations to further secure Nigeria and Nigerians.
The President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, has provided the strategic direction and political will for freedom of legitimate action against those who sought to make miserable the lives and livelihoods of law-abiding citizens. At the agency, we have demonstrated a renewed commitment to making the intelligence enterprise decisive and responsive to our current needs.
The Nigeria's Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, superintends over about 25 defense attaches in different countries. From the Defense Intelligence Agency in Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Thank you, Ismail. And now to fighting corruption. Fighting corruption and insecurity at all levels is critical for the attainment of 2030 Sustainable Development Goals and the provision of infrastructural development to Nigerians. This was the submission of stakeholders at the Center for Peace and Environment Justice's 10th Annual Conference with the theme Insecurity and Corruption, Implication for Development in Africa. Hamman Jabani reports.
Seated here are experts on security, anti-corruption sectors and government officials addressing the challenges of insecurity and corruption that brought about derivation, alienation and conflict among others in Nigeria, resulting into the emergence of insurgency groups and infrastructural deficit. The introduction of single treasury accounts IPPIS land border closure whistleblower policy are some of the measures put in place by the government to address corruption.
Today we have so much investment in the military. We have increased funding for police. We have increased funding for anti-corruption agencies because we're able to recover money that is now put back into fighting corruption and making sure that we address the problem of insecurity.
Center for Peace and Environment for Justice, at its 10th annual conference and its partners, asked a pertinent question as to how best the twin evils of corruption and insecurity in Nigeria, in spite of effort made by full administration, could be tackled.
For all security agents to try as much as possible to nip it at the bud. Then for corruption, yes, ICPC and EFCC are doing their best, but they should not wish on perceived political enemies, but rather they should sincerely go after those who have looted the national treasury.
The gathering is unanimous in recommending improvement in the quality of governance in order to reduce the incidence of corruption and insecurity in Nigeria. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
And from the National Assembly, the House of Representatives has urged the Federal Ministry of Mines and Steel Development to provide geological records of gold deposits in Nigeria, being a major source of revenue. This was in response to a motion from Representative Ogenego during Tuesday's plenary. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The motion elicited comments from House members who noted that prioritizing gold mining in the country will fetch Nigeria the much-needed revenue, as there is an estimated 21.40 tons of gold deposits in Nigeria.
There is a need for us to amend the constitution to bring mining to the concurrent legislative list so that states will have jurisdiction. It will also assist in increasing the revenue generation of this country in such a way that we will not even need to borrow to part-fund the 10 trillion budget as proposed for 2020.
Nigeria, observed the lawmakers, loses more than $9 billion annually to illegal mining and suggested policy review to facilitate investments in the sector. The House, in response to a motion from Representative Makwe Levenus, urged the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to consider the use of concrete technology in road construction, as it is cost-saving and more durable.
Concrete pavements are produced from the abundant and locally available materials like granite, sand, cement, and water. And therefore, the adoption of this method of construction will have multiplier effects in job creation in the road materials sector.
Other matters adopted as plenary include a call to investigate some federal government social investment programs due to alleged corrupt practices as moved by Taiwo Lukemi, appeal for assistance to victims of flood disaster in parts of Borno as moved by Zainab Gimba, and the call from Sato Mohammed for the relocation of Giwa Barracks in Maiduguri to a more suitable location. Meanwhile, the motion requesting the suspension of the directive from Nigeria Customs Service, which stopped the supply of fuel to areas located 20 kilometers to the border, got the support of House members when the Deputy Speaker, Ahmed Idris Wasi, put it to question.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Now to business news for stories trending in the financial sector. Musa Babaliu is our guide.
Institutional investors have commenced deliberation over the $67 billion investment deals of the African Development Bank set aside for Africa. The deal are expected to be sealed before Wednesday this week. President of the bank, Akinwumi Adesina, says all African countries will benefit from the investments. Out of the $67 billion, Central Africa is expected to get $14 billion, Southern Africa $36 billion, West Africa will get $10 billion, North Africa is expected to get $2.6 billion, and Zimbabwean banks started distributing low-denominated banknotes on Tuesday to help end a crippling cash shortage more than a decade since the nation had its own hard currency.
The central bank sent 30 million Zimbabwean dollars of the new notes to local banks for easy circulation. Zimbabwe this year abolished a multi-currency system and reintroduced the Zimbabwean dollar as the sole legal tender a decade after it went out of circulation before hyperinflation. And back home, the Ministry of Trade and Investment has challenged Fish Commodity Association to take advantage of the border closure to improve their production.
With the target and the objective that are pursuing, I'm sure the national production of fish will not only increase, the quality and export value of it will also over a period of time.
Nigeria has a fish deficit of close to 800,000 tons annually.
The business news there concludes the news at this hour. Thank you for watching. I am Nolin Ebel-Ame.
Seven days a week, you can watch ATA International